Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the North Central Washington MVP interview series brought to you by Career Connect Washington and the Apple STEM Network. My name is Carrie Horning. I'm your host, Career Connected Learning Specialist with the NCESD 171. Our goal today is simple, just to introduce our community partners throughout North Central Washington to one another. And as I do each week, I like to remind you a win looks like each of you leaving with a greater understanding of the work being done all around North Central Washington and how you might be able to get involved. Today's episode will highlight Joshua Porter of Western Washington University as our NCWMVP. So grab your lunch, sit back, and get ready for an extra dose of professional nourishment. I always like to do a little bit of an interview. So again, today I'm speaking with Joshua Porter, and his story is he's worked in sustainability and with Western Washington University, but he got an early start in the Methow Valley. And as a solid community, he likes to give back. He wanted to give back, and that kind of helped, propel this program that we're going to talk about today. So along with all of our other interviewees for the NCW MVP series, this common theme remains that these folks love their work and they're helpers and they're out there making change. So Joshua, welcome to the show today. Are you ready to do this?
Yeah, let's dive in. Thanks so much.
All right. So tell us a little bit about what you do at Western Washington University.
You bet. So I'm the Sustainability Pathways Director, and I'm in the Urban Environmental Planning and Policy Department as a research associate and teach through that department. I've been teaching through the College of the Environment since 2014, and I'm just based here in the Methow Valley full-time.
Nice, very nice. So, okay, we kind of touched on it a little bit, the sustainability pathways. Tell us a little bit about how did you go about building that program, that fellowship?
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2020, we launched the program by connecting with community partners that were going to offer paid practicum work experiences for students, and then paired that with a campus sustainability planning studio course, which essentially teaches project management skills for students. Despite COVID that year, we were able to run that program. And afterwards, I was introduced to Career Connect Washington. And, I think that those ingredients of taking paid internship experience and aligned coursework, fit the model that we had piloted just that 1 year. So in round 5, applied as an intermediary for a program building grant and got that for a career launch program building grant. And just over the course of that next year, especially with the support from the College of the Environment, and then working in close partnership with the Sustainability Engagement Institute at Western as well, we were able to further develop the program, expand the partnerships, and really extend the number of opportunities that students could sign up for. One of the elements early on, that we identified is that we really wanted to create this as a fellowship experience so that we could just maximize the access to the program. As much as long-term, we're really seeking to offer the experience to more local youth in especially the Okanagan. We wanted to be able to provide the supports to make it possible for more students to participate. So that includes providing housing for students, doing the fundraising to make that possible, ensuring that all of the positions are paid positions. And yeah, so just being really committed to the strategic goal of Westerns in terms of really increasing that inclusive access and success for students.
Yeah, that's terrific. So I mentioned before, I wasn't quite sure about mentioning this aspect, but my daughter did play a small role and participate in it. But due to the fires, she ended up coming home sooner. This was a few years ago. But I found it as a parent amazing that she was able to go up there and be housed and be a part of that. It was just an amazing experience, even though it was cut short by the fires. So I have a little bit of a personal experience with that, and I think it was amazing. So can you talk to us a little bit about what kind of work the students are actually doing when they're there?
Yeah, absolutely. So at this point, we have 20 placements for students with different organizational partners. Sustainability in this context, I'll use a definition from UCLA Sustainability Committee, is the integration of environmental health, social equity, and economic vitality in order to create thriving, healthy, diverse, and resilient communities for this generation and generations to come. The practice of sustainability recognizes how these issues are interconnected and requires a systems approach and an acknowledgement of complexity. And so ultimately, we're really working on helping students develop systems thinking skills. And so the partners that we're working with represent those different dimensions of sustainability, whether that's ecological quality, economic vitality, social equity and justice, or community health. And so the students that participate for the practicum portion, we're working with town planners, doing wildlife biology, carnivore research, with nonprofit organizations, a lot of environmental policy, community health work. And they end up spending, so right now it's an 11-week fellowship in the summer, and students are spending 3 days a week in those professional paid practicum experiences. And then the other 2 days of week, they're taking the campus sustainability planning studio course, where they're essentially being put in small groups, each working on a community engaged project. And, I just want to emphasize that interdisciplinary quality of that. So let's say, last year having one group that was looking at different food hub models around the country to help inform a local food hub in terms of ways that they might develop. And, to have students that are representing very different disciplines working together, that provides an opportunity for developing this whole other skill set, that really applies across these different majors and fields. So to me, it's a really enriching part of the work I get to do, because what emerges out of that when you have a public health student working with an environmental policy student and a student that's maybe working in regenerative agriculture, the perspectives on sustainability just go way deeper. So that's the core structure of the program. Then this last year, we also partnered with the Campus Coalition for the Public Good to make these positions AmeriCorps positions. So most of the positions are set up for students to also be enrolled as civic leadership and engagement corps members. And so in addition to the 240-hour internship, they do another 60 hours of community engaged service for that 300-hour award, which then gives them an educational award that helps offset the amount of tuition we have for the course the students take. So what that looks like is 2 days a week. In the mornings, we're doing other field trips, especially engaged around food systems and some of the ecological restoration projects that are happening in the Valley, and just an opportunity for students to connect with some of the other resilience work that's happening in the community.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love it. So really, this program, it's creating, sustainability as employability skill set, which is, amazing. So how does that show up on a resume, and what kind of careers do you see, your fellowship participants, attaining?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because there are a number of the career pathways that really clearly go into kind of this green economy. So ecological restoration, for example, or the urban planning students, like it's really clear how sustainability really connects with their work. I think for thinking through really any of the different career pathways and the majors that show up, there are those skill sets that I think show up, whether a student is going into public health, business and entrepreneurship, construction, trades, any of it really, I think has its own unique set of sustainability skills. But, I think in terms of the systems thinking aspects, being able to do that community engagement, facilitation, a lot of communication skills, thinking about, the energy flows from zero waste, energy efficiency, and, thinking through applications for localized systems as well. Yeah, there's a lot there.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what, I did a little bit of homework before I interviewed today, and was reading, some of the quotes from some of your participants, prior fellowship participants. And something I kind of wanted to share out was, in the article that she wrote, it said, sustainability pathways is just a giant group of systems thinkers at play. While each of us was focused on different individual aspects of sustainability, together we were engaging in systems thinking to address the larger picture of the sustainability of a place. And I really think that was a terrific quote, and I wanted to share it because it encompasses the idea of all the small things add up. Like, sometimes it seems just too big to take on this, sustainability, all of these things. But if people are focused on doing the work on just small things, then those small things, add up. So I felt like that was a great quote to share out. So we're talking a little bit about, how all of this is, taking place, and the work that's being done and the community involvement. But if somebody's listening to this that then actually wants to apply, wants to get involved, how do they do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our application process usually opens late fall in November, and then we're starting to wrap up those placements now. So for next year, I would keep an eye out for those announcements in November. Folks can go to sustain.wwu.edu/pathways and read about the program on the website there. And then we'll post the announcements for when the applications are open. We're also distributing those announcements just in the region through partners at the ESD and yeah.
Okay. So the application period right now for this coming summer is closed.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Excellent. So this gives, some of maybe our sophomores or juniors or, a chance to kind of come at it for next year. So awesome. Okay. So can you tell us a little bit about, maybe one of your participants, somebody who is in the fellowship, has gone on, graduated. What are they doing? What have they, what did they find career-wise? What direction did they head into?
Yeah, sure. I appreciate that. I mean, just anecdotally, I just heard through, one of the students I still work with who's in the Sustainability Engagement Institute back at Western that, she got an update from one of her classmates from 2 years ago who just got a fisheries position in Juneau, and really credited her experience in the program here and getting to work with Cascade Fisheries, one of the organizational partners that we work with in setting her up for that. I think of the continued engagement of many of these students, that they end up making a really strong connection both within the organizations they work with, as well as just in the Methow and Okanagan Valleys as communities. And there's something about the stories that connect to progression, especially in terms of leadership and engagement. And some of those students were hired by the organizations directly after those internships. One of those students, Lillian Probst, was working at Room One, social services organization here in the Methow Valley. And I think it deeply informed the direction that she's decided to go. She was an environmental policy major. She hadn't really thought about, what working in a nonprofit would look like. And, I think being able to apply her skills, and especially with that leadership and team at Room One, it really propelled her in terms of being able to see what kind of impact she could have in a community. So Room One ended up, hiring her part-time, keeping her on even through her senior year, even while she was back in Bellingham. And then, one of the student projects for the course, the students were looking at, okay, how might we develop a mobile field station model using tiny homes on trailers to really support some of the housing solutions, and particularly for supporting spaces for students during this residency. And so I had invited the students that worked on that project for their course to help me write a grant. And, and so even despite their busy schedules, Lillian and two others showed up to help out with that, to get grant writing experience, which was new to them. And we were successful in getting a grant to purchase 2 tiny homes. And, I think that that is a example of kind of that applied learning, and, really contributing meaningfully to actualizing something that, I think in these courses, students really talk about is not just being an academic assignment. And I think that's one of the things that I've seen with the work they do, the amount of energy that they put into it, because they identify that positive impact that their work can have just elevates that sense of responsibility. So, and I think that's something that over the arc of, what can be transformational, I think, for students in this process is, yes, certainly the project management skills and working collaboratively with an interdisciplinary team to carry out a project like that. But then I think, being able to have that affirmation of seeing the results of that work actually get implemented is especially powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I'm hearing in this, and I've given away some of the secrets of this podcast in previous podcasts. We didn't actually follow the normal suit. So this is something that's come up just as we're working, together today on this. I keep hearing community, and I have to say, as career connected learning, we're really trying to, impress upon our students the fact that community is so important, giving back, figuring out what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, but how you're going to give back to your community. And that's something that from the start of this interview through, I continue to hear. And I want to make sure that I give you a little bit of time, because you spoke about your initial experience in the Methow, wanting this fellowship to kind of come back and give back. And that community is just a theme. Is there anything that you want to share, about that before we move on? Just how important it is to actually, get involved and give back to that community that has supported you or others. I'm hearing it in the grant writing and the work that they're doing, and I love that aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a great question. And it makes me think about the different layers of community, and I think one of the core aspects of this program is that, we really take a place-based, community engaged approach to it. And that begins with the cohort when it's assembled, that we're really intentional about how we develop as a learning community. And I think that's something that's, really essential. And I think that what I've witnessed, especially coming out of COVID, in the last couple of years, not only having students be back in person, but to be in a space where that community is being cultivated with that intention. And then that's nested within a larger community that is really excited to have them here. I think students feel really valued by those connections, even outside the organizations, that they're just making at large in the broader community. And I think that context as well, for being in North Central Washington, being in a rural space that, we begin with in the very beginning of the summer, just around the cultural landscape that we're in, and what are the economics and demographics of the region. And, I think that the bigger goal here, I think, especially in being able to provide access to, some of the programming through Western Washington University, in North Central Washington, we don't have a 4-year university. And so, sustainability as an interdisciplinary way to engage with many of those offerings that, whether they're connected directly to some of the more common majors that we see participating in the program, like urban planning and sustainable development, business and sustainability, energy studies and policy, environmental science, public health. That there are a lot of offerings through our outreach and continuing education department too, and really looking at where some of those those needs that we might have in this region that those programs can also fill, whether those are online or hybrid. And yeah, I'll leave it at that.
No, you know what? I love it because again, that tiny bit of experience that I have with it, it was amazing to both my husband and I that, our daughter could get into this program and literally be housed, there. She could go up and become a part of the community, and that people were willing to open up and give and participate. And I think that's a big, amazing thing. Obviously, with the Methow, they're terrific at bringing others in. But then too, that you can find that in any community that you're in, if you're looking for it. If you want to be a part of it, you can do it. Or if you're looking for that type of assistance, it's usually there. So there's always the helpers, right? That's exactly what we're doing here on this. So on this interview, but well, let's in keeping with time, let's talk a little bit about what's happening right now. Is there a new program in the works for 2023? What's going on up there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, we ended up getting a program building grant in round 8 as well. And this one is a career prep grant. And it's, specifically looking at ways that we can extend the sustainability pathways program so that there's exposure for youth, and, recognizing that, as much as we're focused on undergraduate students for the present way that the program's structured, that to really increase that local participation and engagement, that, it makes sense to be partnering with the high schools and being able to help support exposure to sustainability earlier on, and to help develop out what are those skill sets that are most applicable. And so with a great partnership between the Career and Technical Education Program at Methow Valley School District, who was really interested in being able to replicate some of those models to do more of the internship opportunities within the community, and starting with the construction trades program there, and then expand out into the other CTE programs, identifying what are the overarching kind of sustainability skill sets that students need to be really employable in terms of 21st century skills. And then what are the specific ones in each different CTE pathway? And so then we extended that invitation to other school districts around the region to participate in a community of practice, where we're really looking at, okay, what are those best practices in integrating sustainability and tribal sovereignty into CTE programs. And so we just started our convenings last week in Nispelem with a full day event that was in partnership with the OSPI Office of Native Education with Shandy Abrahamson, and then Megan Francis, who is the Youth Development Program manager at the Colville Tribes. And it was incredible. We had 8 school districts show up, many people from the ESD, other organizational partners. And, and I think that interest from these different programs in really engaging around both sustainability and tribal sovereignty, and what that can look like, and how that can support the student learning and outcomes and advance this work just on a broader scale, is really exciting. So we'll be doing 3 more of those convenings through the spring, and then piloting a kind of a youth community sustainability core this summer as an extension of some of the CTE work. And again, just to give youth more exposure to some of these different sustainability pathways, and then in the process, help advance some of these initiatives in sustainability.
Excellent. Oh, that's super exciting. Very good. Thank you for sharing all that. So we're winding down here, and I just kind of want to, do a blanket, ask of, is there anything else that you want to share with us that we haven't had a chance to cover yet? I mean, there's just so much information, but any other little tidbits you want to throw in?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I guess I would just emphasize the opportunity to really approach this work with systems thinking as a practice, to really break down the silos between different programs and really seek to build those networks and partnerships. And so that's where, yeah, I would certainly throw out an invitation to anybody that's interested in the program model, connecting with the community of practice, working on sustainability work, to reach out and, and to just reflect on too, within, whatever area someone might be teaching subject wise, or as employers, thinking about the ways that sustainability really fit into that work, and just to really, set students up well for this kind of green economy work, and just advancing the overall the level of health and resilience that we need to see in our region.
Yeah, that's terrific. I love it. Oh my gosh, I know this was really difficult time-wise. I know you're super busy, so I definitely want to thank you. Everybody, that joins in the NCWMVP series, we're usually live. This was actually pre-recorded, so people who are going to be watching this, there's not an option for Q&A right now, but I want to make sure that I share out with the audience that you can reach me at Carih, C-A-R-I-H, at ncesd.org. If you have questions, I can make the contact with you. Joshua's information is online as well. Western Washington University, you can even, just Google in the sustainability fellowship pathways, and you can find all of his information there too. But again, I want to thank you. Like I said, I know you're super busy. I appreciate you coming in and doing this with us. And yeah, you know what? Good luck up there. Keep up the good work, and keep us in the loop as far as career connected learning goes, because we love making these connections.
Great, thank you, Carrie. It's been a pleasure, and yeah, just really huge gratitude to Career Connect Washington. The regional support has been fantastic, and the North Central Educational Services District too. I really
Excellent.
Really appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. We will see you next week live, back to kind of the normal scheduling. So thanks again.
Thanks so much, everyone.